Hi, I'm Julian Vasquez Heilig, and I am the Dean of the College of Education at the University of Kentucky. And we at the college make teachers and principals and superintendents and other folks that you see every day in your school. And probably many of the people in your school went to our school at Kentucky. So I'm so excited to meet you today, and I'm going to read a book. This book is called Carlos and the Squash Plant. So I've read this book in Spanish, and now I'm going to read it in English. So if you want to hear it in Spanish, you could hear it in Spanish too. So let's get going. Let's learn about Carlos and see what Carlos is up to in Mexico. Okay, let's go. All right, so again, this book is called Carlos and the Squash Plant. So here you can see Carlos. He is picking vegetables in Mexico in the garden. And you can see the mountains in the background, and you can see the fence, and he has his basket of vegetables. So what's Carlos up to today? Let's find out. Okay. Carlos spent most of his days helping in the garden right alongside his brother and father. Together they planted the seeds, and they weeded the long, even rows, and they gathered the vegetables when they were ripe. Carlos worked so hard, the rich brown earth ended up everywhere, under his fingernails, in his toes, inside his ears. But he hated taking baths. He especially hated washing his ears. Do you like taking a bath? Do you always remember to wash your ears? His mother would warn him, Si no te limpias las orejas te van a brotar una calabacita. What's that in English? If you don't wash your ears, a squash plant will grow in them. So here is Carlos' mama, his mom, telling him to go take a bath. Take a bath. Because if you don't take a bath, a squash plant might grow in your ears. But of course, Carlos didn't believe her. One day, he had been in the garden all day. He was especially dirty. When he came in the house, his mother told him he had to have a bath before dinner. Oh, Mama, do I have to? Asked Carlos. But his mother just pointed towards the bathroom door. Here she is pointing. Carlos went into the bathroom, he shut the door, but instead of taking a bath, he just wiped his face with the washcloth. Put on his pajamas, went to the kitchen, sat down at the dinner table with his brother, mother, and father. His mom asked him, Did you take a bath? Looked at Carlos with a raised eyebrow. He said, Si, Mama, I did, he said. Papa only shook his head. After dinner, Carlos went to bed early. Here's Carlos, just washing his face. Now remember, his mom told him to take a bath, but he only washed his face. He didn't actually take a whole bath. When the bright summer sun shone in his bedroom window in the morning, he woke up quickly. He had an itchy sort of feeling in his ear, and when he started to scratch it, he felt something strange. Carlos ran to the mirror. A tiny green stem with two pear-shaped leaves were growing out of his right ear. Just as he wondered what to do, his mother called him for breakfast. He could smell the aroma of chorizo, which is spicy hot sausage, and eggs frying. Here you can see there's something growing from Carlos's ear. Maybe Mama was right. Just a minute, Mama, said Carlos, and he ran to his closet where he found a wide-brimmed hat. There's a little picture of the hat right there. Okay. Good morning, son, said his mother. Sit down and have your breakfast. But why are you wearing that hat? It's such a sunny day today, and I don't want the sun to get in my eyes, answered Carlos. And he ate his breakfast so fast he was outside before his mother could get a second look. Why do you think he ate so fast? Well, because there was a squash growing from his ear. Carlos worked outside all morning and ate his lunch sitting on a branch of a huge cottonwood tree while a thin stream of water ran beneath him. Here he is, eating his lunch. You can see the stream below the tree. After nightfall, he came inside, and when his mother saw him, she told him to take a bath before dinner. "Oh, Mama, do I have to?" he asked, but Mama pointed towards the bathroom door. Carlos went into the bathroom, but again, instead of taking a bath, he only wiped his face with a wet washcloth. And then he sat down at the table. "Carlos, did you take a bath?" asked his mother as she served dinner. "Si, Mama." "I did," said Carlos. And he quickly ate his dinner and then went upstairs to bed. He was so tired he fell asleep immediately. The next morning, when the sun felt warm on his face, his right ear was itching more than ever. And look, that squash plant is growing. It's growing. He jumped out of bed and looked in the mirror, and the green plant that had merely been a tiny shoot the day before had grown to about 4 inches in length. 3 more leaves had joined the first 2. "Ay, caramba," thought Carlos. But just then he heard his mother calling him, and he smelled the aroma of fresh, warm cornmeal flakes cooking on the stove. Carlos ran across the hall to his brother's room and found a big hat on the highest closet shelf. He pulled it down over both ears and walked into the kitchen. "Good morning, son. Sit down for breakfast," his mother said. "But why are you wearing that big hat?" "Oh, the sun is so hot, and I don't want to get it in my eyes," Carlos said. And he ate only a few bites of his breakfast and hurried outside. Here you can see his mom serving him breakfast in the big hat. He's hiding the squash plant that's coming out of his ear. That evening, Carlos came in from the garden dirtier than ever, and once again his mother told him to take a bath before dinner. But Carlos only wiped his face again and returned to the kitchen, the big hat still on his head. I don't think his hat said UK. My hat says UK, but... "Si, Mama," answered Carlos, pulling the large hat farther down over his ears. After dinner, he went straight to bed. Here you can see Carlos at dinner. You can't even see his face because he's wearing the hat to hide the squash plant that's coming out of his ear. Carlos woke up late the next morning, and his head felt really heavy on one side. He didn't need to look in the mirror to know what was happening. A long green vine, and guess what? Now it has blossoms. Okay, yellow blossoms, and yellow blossoms turned into calabacitas. In Spanish, calabacitas is squash, and so you see the squash plant is now making flowers, which will later become squash. Carlos tried pulling it out. He tried breaking it off. He tried stomping it with his foot, but nothing would rid him of the squash plant growing from his ear. It's now several feet long. "Ay, caramba," he thought to himself, and just then he heard his mother calling him for breakfast. He ran into his parents' bedroom where he found an even larger hat in his parents' bedroom. Wow. You can see the plant growing from his ears. You can see the yellow flowers. Carlos has a problem on his hands. Coiling the squash vine across his head, he pulled the hat over both ears and walked in the kitchen. So what does coiling mean? He put it in a circle. You see the squash sticking out of his ear? Now he's got to tuck that whole squash plant under his dad's hat. "Good morning, son. Have some warm tortillas and honey," said his mother. "But why are you wearing Papa's hat?" Carlos said, "It's very sunny and bright outside, Mom. I want to keep the sun out of my eyes." "But the sun isn't shining today, son. It's windy and it's cloudy," said his mom. But Carlos didn't answer. He rolled up a tortilla and took it outside with him to eat. Sure enough, the weather was breezy and cool. Tumbleweeds blew down the road, and Carlos had to hold onto his hat with one hand while he weeded the garden with others. Just as it was getting dark, Carlos let go of the hat for a moment. A gust of wind carried the hat down the road, his father's hat. Here you can see the hat flying away. You can see Carlos right here, this little guy right here, and you can see the hat flying away. Here's the garden and his house, The hat flew away. It was a windy day. At the same time, Carlos heard his mother calling him inside. Carlos covered his head with his arms before Mama could even ask him to take a bath. He'd filled up the tub with water. Desperately, he began scrubbing his left ear. At the same time, he felt a tingly, itchy sensation in the other ear, and amazingly, the squash plant began to shrink. The more he scrubbed, the smaller it became, until finally, the vine had completely disappeared because he had actually taken a bath. Carlos dried himself off, put on his pajamas, and walked to the kitchen, where he sat down for dinner. Carlos finally took a bath, and the squash plant disappeared. Mama, I finished my bath, and I even remembered to wash my ears, said Carlos. You're a good boy, and for you, I have cooked your favorite dish, calabacitas, which is squash, said his mother, and she put the steaming plate down in front of him. She winked at Papa, who pretended not to notice. Here's Carlos. No more squash plant because he took a bath. The end. Boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed today's story. Today's story was Carlos and the squash plant. And I hope that you will consider becoming an educator in your future. I hope that you'll become a teacher, a principal, that you'll go to the University of Kentucky College of Education. So we'll see you very soon, and I hope you have a great day. And I hope you enjoyed Carlos and the squash plant.